This video doesn't contain any leaks or spoilers or insights into the Ascendancy classes of Path of Exile 2. Grinding Gear Games has officially released said Ascendancy classes for the public to consume, but I am not looking at any of them here today, and I'm going to explain why. This video does contain all the latest news from the Zizaran interview, the news from the IGN interview, and a few other points of interest as well, including the fact that pre-download will be available beginning Thursday for most of the planet. Let's just kick it off right with this Ascendancy Fiasco. So last night, all the Ascendancy classes for Path of Exile 2 were being leaked. Every single one. These were being leaked from NDA testers, we presume, and they were being spread across the internet, on Reddit, on YouTube. Streamers were watching them. They were really everywhere. People started posting them in my Discord server. I outlawed that rather quickly. And as a reaction, Grinding Gear Games decided they would share the Ascendancy classes with the community before the actual launch. Now, it looks like after we received some insights from Viperesque, a Grinding Gear Games developer, they were not going to do this initially. Mark Roberts said no, we would like players to witness these in-game. We have a lot of cool surprises in store. It's going to be awesome on Friday when we see all those initial reactions at once. Lots of theory crafting won't be able to be done before then. It's going to be very interesting and exciting. However, when the leaks started occurring, Grinding Gear Games realized they needed to release these. Now, there are a few different sides here. Obviously, there are many people who are very excited that Grinding Gear Games did decide to release the Ascendancies. Heck, they were even excited that they were being leaked. And that's because you cannot currently change your Ascendancy class in Path of Exile 2. And as we all know, lots of skills, all skills that aren't related to Ascendancies can be used between classes. So your real class choice is your Ascendancy class. When you're choosing the Witch, you're actually choosing whether you're an Infernalist or if you're a Blood Mage, right? So lots of people wanted this information well beforehand so they could decide which class they were going to choose. There are people like that, and I have no issue with them. I totally understand that. I know many of you in the community are very excited to now know what you will be playing. You're excited to spend the next 2 days theory crafting about how you're going to spec through the tree, not only the Ascendancy tree, but the passive skill tree, how you'll be able to scale certain vectors with damages and defenses, and that's great. Lots of tier lists and build videos will probably start popping up on YouTube, and while I still don't think it's the right time yet, I think now there is a little bit more ammunition in the arsenal to make those videos, since we now know one of the most important aspects of our classes. I, on the other hand, will not be participating in any of that. You might be wondering, why aren't we seeing the Ascendancies on the screen right now? Well, that's because I did not look at any of the leaks, and I did not look at anything that Grinding Gear Games posted regarding the Ascendancies except the tweet that I used in the thumbnail of this video. I want to be surprised. I want to log in on December 6th, have my class chosen by the community, and when I reach that altar of Ascendancy or whatever it's called in Path of Exile 2, I want to be surprised at the rest of the nodes. Sure, we were drip-fed a few of the nodes during the initial presentation about a week and a half ago, but besides that, there's a lot still left to be discovered. I want to discover those things for myself, and I think other people out there share that sentiment. So that's it. I'm sorry. I'm not talking about the Ascendancy classes before early access releases. Lots of other content creators are doing that. You can literally just type in PoE2 Ascendancy classes, and there are people breaking down the best Ascendancy classes, the most broken nodes that they think will be viable and optimal in early access right now. You're not going to see that on this channel. You're going to get the news, you're going to get my opinion, you're going to get some fun stuff starting immediately on early access. But today, you're not going to get anything else regarding the Ascendancies. If I could start my class and the community weren't choosing, I'd probably pick a warrior, and I think I want to go the Titan because that looks the coolest to me. We'll see what I actually play on December 6th. As a final note on this, before we get to the rest of the news, I do not truly fault Grinding Gear Games for deciding to release all the Ascendancy nodes. It makes total sense after the leaks happened, but my goodness gracious, I hope the leakers are found and I hope they are blacklisted. It's truly not cool what's happening after not receiving any leaks this entire time. Now I really can't go on any spaces. Even my Discord channel, people are like talking about all this stuff and I want to be left in the dark. I know this is a silly complaint. Additionally, on top of these Ascendancy leaks, everyone, I have been messaged and there are unique item leaks right now. I saw a screenshot of Tabula Rasa before I looked away, so it looks like the leakers are just continuing. I would guess most of this is coming from that final closed beta test that is occurring right now between December 3rd to December 6th. There's probably some people in there who are like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm not going to be punished. I'm going to be able to screenshot this stuff, send it off to people. People can start theory crafting and building, including myself getting ready for that launch. It is a very unfortunate situation, and it sucks that there are people like that, but that is just the time that we live in. I will warn you, be careful visiting Twitter and Reddit, and yeah, I'm doing my best on the Discord, but be careful on the Discord as well. Now, let's move on how Grinding Gear Games' hand was forced and talk about the Zizaran and Jonathan Rogers interview that we had a few days ago now. There were some awesome insights that we received from here. This is not everything. I highly recommend you go watch the interview if you'd like to. It was about an hour and a half long. These are the best parts of it, in my opinion. First up, Jonathan Rogers is not opposed to adding a target dummy to the game in the future, although nothing like that currently exists in Path of Exile 2. The next big topic was boss fights and portaling out. You cannot portal out of boss fights, and you cannot change your equipment during a boss fight either. You can log out of a boss fight, so you can use the logout macro essentially. You have the option to spawn back at the previous checkpoint instead of back at the boss. Essentially, you can log out and forfeit the entire boss fight so you can save your character on hardcore. But before we move to the next topic, make sure you hit the like button if you enjoy my content and subscribe as well with the sub notification bell turned on. Both are entirely free and are the best ways to support the channel. Thank you so much. We are going to go on a bit of a tangent here because Rax made a video about exactly this yesterday or today. My mind is a little buzzed right now since I am sick. It's essentially talking about how pausing, especially during boss fights, is horrible and one of the worst additions to Path of Exile 2, the only thing that he is not excited about and something that lowers his excitement levels for Path of Exile 2. Essentially what he says is that this incentivizes players to cheese fights. High-level players are going to be able to pause during boss fights, avoid certain moves, make sure their character almost never dies, and they can just forfeit the fight. So while I understand that point entirely, I think the positives of being able to pause in the game whenever you'd like outweigh the negatives. And I think this is something that only the very top players are going to abuse. I don't think that everybody is going to be constantly pausing during boss fights and cheesing them in that way to dodge certain attacks. The example he gave was Path of Exile 1's Maven fight, where during the memory phase, you could pause during each part of it and just know exactly where to go. Essentially, you could just write it down or something. It's not real time anymore since you can pause. Totally understand that argument, but I also think that being able to pause is just so good for so many different people. Me, for example, I can always just hop off and go take care of my kids if necessary. If I need to take a break, I can just pause. The quality of life is phenomenal. I think it far outweighs the abuse cases that we're going to see, but this is early access. I'm sure Grinding Gear Games is going to measure how often those abuse cases do occur, and if they occur too often, I'm sure that they will make some edits there. Then we also learned that there is a disconnect timer, a 6-second disconnect timer that does exist, and if you lag for more than 100 milliseconds, the instance is completely paused, and this protects you from dying due to lag. That's pretty awesome. And if this lag does not complete itself in 6 seconds or less, you are going to be disconnected from the game. People have died before due to lag. This happens in lots of other games. In Path of Exile 2, this should be mitigated a great deal. They also talked about runes a little bit, the new additions to items. You can socket runes into your items. They're essentially the replacement for the crafting bench. We learned that we cannot socket over existing runes, And we can also not remove runes either. Remember that. We also found out that runes are very, very common in game, while soul cores are far more rare and powerful. Then Jonathan said that character names work exactly like in Path of Exile 1, where we cannot have any repeat names. However, the databases for Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 are completely separate. So people are going to be racing for certain names, including myself. There was also this lovely little tidbit of the interview wherein Jonathan said when you see a tier 5 item drop, you should be incredibly excited because that is a rare occurrence. He didn't give an exact number of how rare it was. Like, is it as rare as a Mirror of Kalandra? I presume not, but given how animated he was about this, if you see a tier 4, a tier 5 item drop, this should be a piece of gear that you want to use on your character, sell to other people, or just make work on another character that it inspires you to build. There was also a confirmation that if there is a massive skill tree change during the early access, everyone will receive a full free respec. We also received full affirmation that Ascendancy skills do have sockets, and they gain more sockets with character level, and you should expect to have a 6-linked Ascendancy skill in your late 80s. And we also learned that skills tied to items roll sockets for support gems on the item itself. So what this means is that you could be chasing for a unique item that grants an awesome skill that has the 6 sockets required or the 6 links required. Jonathan also confirmed that hardcore characters that die go right to softcore. So you can actually play hardcore with no crazy penalties on launch, except the fact that you will leave the hardcore realm, of course, once you die. But your character is not sent to some standard server because everything right now is just on hardcore or softcore, I guess, and then SSF realms as well. And for new players who don't know what SSF stands for, it stands for Solo Self-Found, meaning you cannot party or trade with other players. It's basically a full single-player experience in Path of Exile 2. We also had the big bomb drop that Jonathan thinks getting over 1 million players in early access is not a possibility, but they are getting closer and closer to that number. The software that they are using to load test their servers currently breaks around 1.6 million concurrent players. So they're really hoping, if the software is correct, if these tests are correct, they don't necessarily hit that amount, right? Because then the servers are going to just tumble and crumble under the pressure. But as I see Path of Exile 2 continue to basically top the Steam best-selling games charts, and it's not even out yet, and I see all the excitement buzzing across the internet for console and for PC, I think it is totally feasible to see over 1 million concurrents on launch. My guesses now for Steam are hovering around 400,000 to 450,000. We also learned that there will not be an ExileCon in the year 2025, though one in the future will be very possible. Kinda good news for me. I now know that I don't need to save up for a ticket for 2025. We also learned that guild stash tabs are not going to transfer to Path of Exile 2 since Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2 guilds are completely separate. This is something that we will be immediately buying stash tabs for in our guild, I presume, on early access. We had a pretty big-sized guild in Path of Exile 1. You can join it if you'd like by hopping onto our Discord server and messaging us. We're expecting to have probably over 100 players at least, and we're just going to chill in the guild chat. We can trade some items in the guild stash and just have a nice community in the game itself. And the last big thing of note that we have heard before is that Path of Exile Mobile is on hold. As always, a stellar interview from Jonathan Rogers and Zizaran. And Zizaran, like myself, is sick. A lot of the Path of Exile community seems sick right now. I'm just hoping that I feel much better than I do right now sitting here at 5 a.m. recording this on Friday, because I was planning to do like a 12-hour plus stream. And speaking of streams, we finally got an announcement on what the Twitch drops are going to be for Path of Exile 2. Brand new items. We have 1, 2, 3, and then a 4th item we're going to see in a second. It's lovely. My wife is even going to get on board and gift some subs. It is the Chimera Pet. So everyone, I will be streaming It's just a matter of how sick I'll be while streaming. So if you'd like to get these items rewarded, support me or support your favorite content creator or one of many content creators that are going to be streaming. For this first one, you just have to watch for a certain amount of time. I'm guessing it's an hour, maybe 2 hours between the 6th and the 13th. For the second one, this Halo, also the 6th and the 13th, probably a little bit longer watch time. And then for this, the Temporal Lord's Portal, which looks awesome, you need to do it during the 14th to the 21st. And then this last one, the Chimera Pet, what you have to do is gift 2 Twitch subscriptions. So I don't believe this is you subbing yourself to a Twitch channel. It's gifting 2 to others. I think this is about $15, maybe $16. So just make sure that you gift at least 2 and you connect your Twitch account to your Path of Exile account. It's pretty simple. You do it on the Path of Exile website, on the Twitch website. Very self-explanatory. But this pet, I mean, I don't know if they'll be available after early access launches or not, but this pet is awesome, and I'm definitely going to be gifting some subs to my favorite streamers and content creators. I hope you do the same. It's awesome to see Grinding Gear Games just incentivizing this to support the creator community as well. And it's not a certain sect of streamers. It is literally anyone who is streaming in the Path of Exile 2 category between these dates. This is something that other games don't do, and they actually have like a whitelist of streamers that they allow this for. Grinding Gear Games, the GOATs, are letting everybody participate, which is awesome. And for me saying they were exclusive, I just wanted to double check to see if my facts were correct. This is not the case. All MTX from this promo will remain exclusive while Path of Exile 2 is in early access. Once Path of Exile 2 fully releases, these cosmetics will be available for purchase in both Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2. So there you go. They will be exclusive for between 6 months and 1 year. There is also this tremendous announcement that I'd like to post on this video in case you just haven't seen it. Path of Exile 2 Early Access will be pre-downloadable on the following platforms as of recording this video: Xbox, PlayStation 5, and the PC standalone client. You can already actually download it on Xbox. There will be a small patch probably on launch day. On PlayStation 5, you should be able to download it 1 day before. Same with PC in the standalone client. I repeat, Steam currently does not have a pre-download option, which is very unfortunate given all the success we are seeing of Path of Exile 2 on Steam. But if you have a very slow internet and you'd like to make sure you can play on December 6th when it comes out at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, make sure that you download the standalone client for now and just log in via that. Okay, you don't want to spend 12 hours downloading the game on December 6th when you could play if you use the standalone client. I use the standalone client for Path of Exile 1. I always have. I'm going to use the standalone for Path of Exile 2. And you can start downloading that at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on December 5th. If you go to this page, which will be linked in the description below, it will tell you the exact time in your time zone when you can start to pre-download. This, again, is a huge W for many Path of Exile players, but if you'd like to remain unspoiled and not see a whole bunch of information that wouldn't be viewable otherwise, do not participate in a lot of different forums or social media platforms, because once this becomes pre-downloadable, people will begin to data mine, and they can spoil plot points, they can spoil unique items, they can spoil bosses, stuff in the atlas. Basically anything that is a text file that needs to be on the client itself can be spoiled. Now, I think I said that the IGN interview contained news, and while it technically did, some of it is old, and it's not really new information about Path of Exile 2, but just affirmation on what we see Grinding Gear Games to be. A company that truly cares about the game that it's developing and the players who play said game. And I think this can all be synthesized into one part of the IGN interview, in which the interviewer asks Jonathan Rogers about the delays that they've had to make. And Jonathan essentially says, "We like being transparent with our players. We like telling them the truth. And if we think something is not ready, if we think it's not up to that bar of quality, if it's not going to be fun, we are going to tell the players that. And as long as we are truthful, we've always been rewarded. The player base trusts us. We've bought that goodwill. So it's better for us to be upfront and truthful about things like delays than to push the game out in a state in which it is not prepared to be played by players." This part of the interview just blew my mind given what I've seen in the broader games industry as of late. And man, I think we are so lucky to have Grinding Gear Games making Path of Exile 2 and making all these decisions. And obviously, they are making these decisions. Lots of people have talked about how Tencent is really controlling them, all their game decisions and MTX decisions, and when to push out the game and when not. No, I think that these guys have a firm grasp on what they want to do with Path of Exile 2, how they develop it, how they release it, and I am so grateful for that. Then I thought I would just close out this part of the video with this right here, which is my current calendar for the Path of Exile 2 Early Access launch. We have a lot of different people we're talking to. I had to reschedule the Surgog interview and the Palsteron chat because I was sick and they were sick, or not they, but one of them was sick. Action RPG canceled, unfortunately. And then PoE2 launch eve, we're going to have a big live stream on Thursday. Launch day, I plan on starting streaming at 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have a ton of fun. I hope I am feeling better by then. And then beyond that, you guys, we are just going to be going hard for the days after. I'm going to stream for at least 4 hours on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then I'm back to the real world after that. But the chats continue with Arrow, Sammy Caps, and a bunch of other folks. We're talking to Havoc, Hog, Nuji, Tripolar Bear, Darth Microtransactions, Steel Mage, Kitten Cat Noodle, Valina, If and Jeff, Balor Mage, Rax, and Pox. And then I believe a few more in the new year. Yup. Peter and Snoo. And then once the first big Path of Exile 2 patch comes out, we are having a bunch of other people that we're going to chat to. I cannot wait to see what everyone thinks of Path of Exile 2. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, my fellow Exile. I hope I feel better in time for launch, and if you'd like to see more Path of Exile 2 content now and beyond, make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to the channel. Both are entirely free and the best way to support me. Thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. Stay sane, my fellow Exiles.